One of the reasons that I absolutely gravitated to grief counseling is because it is a huge time of growth. You are stripping away anything anyone has ever told you about what is truth, what is God, what is the universe, how you're meant to operate, being a good girl. All of that stuff gets burned to the ground. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, Sheetal Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Sheetal Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. Today's topic is one that I see so many people facing. And if you're an entrepreneur or a professional woman, when you face this problem, it is life shattering. It almost breaks apart everything that you've ever thought that you're supposed to be, which is part of the beauty of this experience. And so today's podcast I've labeled Grief, Growth, and the Sacred Pause, What Nobody Tells You. And in the astrology right now, there is a lot of things going on. We are really navigating a lot of new energy, breaking up a lot of the old paradigms and, having us step into new places in our lives, new parts of our purpose, new parts of our being that we have never experienced before. And, the one thing about humans is we love to just hang on for dear life to the old, right? Our brain operates on creating safety for what is known in the past. And so in order for us to create a new life, to experience new things, we have to let go of the old things. And our mind likes to create so many stories about those old things and how they are part of our identity and who we are. And the fact of the matter is you're none of those things. You've just taken on this identity. I've taken on this identity as my name is Sheetal, that I have dark hair and big eyes. I love red and I wear red lipstick. If you knew me 15 years ago, you wouldn't know me as a girl who wore red because I wore a lot of black, gray, and beige. I did not want to stand out. I I was a high achiever. I mean, I still am in many ways. But and again, even that high achieving part of my identity is because it got me something. It got me notoriety. It got me love. It got me worthiness. It got people saying, oh, you're smart enough. You belong here. And, when you look into your own life, you will notice that many parts of your identity are because it got you something, right? I mean, we don't become things that are ostracized by society. I mean, it's hard. I'm noticing in the younger generation, they are so themselves from such a young age. It is fascinating to me because we have parented them as you're loved no matter what. So, oh, I'm loved no matter what. I'm going to change my name. I'm going to change my sexuality. I'm going to be who I am now, not when, I hit 40. Which I think is wonderful. They're evolving so much faster than we have ever experienced. And you can see a lot of resistance in the world about that, right? You can't change your name. You can't change your identity. What do you mean? You want to change your gender? Like you don't even know who you are yet. And yet, so many of them feel so strongly about this. And yes, we can say, their brains are not fully developed, but they have a sense of knowing themselves and the questions that they ask that I did not have until my 30s, to be honest. And I'm a pretty smart person. So you can say that we are almost evolving at faster and faster rates. And if you know any young people in your life and you look at them, the things that they are thinking about and dreaming about are very different than what we were thinking and dreaming about at that age. And it is the timeline is speeding up. So, this time in the world is asking you to change and at a rapid rate that is almost not, really fathomable by our mind who just wants to stay the same. And there is a lot of grief in transition. We often think that grief is only, for death. And yes, grief is for death. We're going through a massive transition when somebody close to you passes away, even someone who's not close to you passes away. It makes you think about life and circumstances and, how really everything is meant to change. Nothing is going to be here forever, even plastic. It's all going to shift in time. And yet our mind is like, no, we must hold on to these things. So, grief goes hand in hand with growth. Every time we grow, we go through a grief. We go through a shedding. I've been seeing a lot of symbolism of the snake lately, of shedding skin, shedding the old and stepping into the new. And, if you look at a snake before it's ready to molt, it looks pretty gnarly, right? Even its eyes go a little bit kind of clouded over, and it's like it's trying to get this thing off. It's trying to find rocks and things that are rough to try to get this thing off. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. If you watch a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, like they kind of have to beat their way out of there. It's not easy. And then they got to wait for their wings to dry and for everything to unfurl. It's not just this beautiful metaphor of, oh, you're the worm and then you're the cocoon and then you emerge a butterfly. Like, no, you are liquefied in this cocoon stage. And then even as you are emerging, you're like, can you fly? Is this like, what is this new body? And it's trying to understand who it is now. So in the stages of transition is the hardest parts. And I've been seeing it a lot. There's a lot of people being asked to change or forced to change, whether that's someone close to them passing away or a diagnosis of someone close to them or for themselves, or just, things not happening in the way that they desire. There's the midlife crisis is real. It's a real thing that we go through. In astrology, that happens around the age of 40 to 42, which is the Uranus opposition, and it's meant to shake out anything that's no longer working. But it's not just happening. I mean, it's happening in that range of 40 to 42. My beautiful friend Jillian Checker has rebranded the midlife crisis, the midlife breakthrough. So I like to use that word now in all of my readings, especially if you're in that age range. And so many people have been coming to me for astrology readings during that time, which is fascinating because where it falls in your chart, what sign it's in, how, other planets in your chart, it can give you a flavor, for what is happening for you and some clues as to where you're supposed to go. But supposed to go is really loose. Yeah, I'm using the supposed to in a very loose way. You get to decide where you're going next. It's almost like the universe wipes clean your canvas and you are now at a new stage. You've got all these beautiful colors. When you were starting before, you're acquiring all these colors as you're going through life. Now you have this palette. You have money, you have a house, you have relationships around you, you have a little bit of an identity that gets to stay, your core values that are evolving, you get to, keep those. But when you think about like when you're in your early 20s, you don't have any of those things, right? You're just sorting it out as you go along. But when you move into your midlife or you're moving through major transition, whenever that may be in your life, you've got now some base, right? Some foundation that's going to support you as you move forward. So you're not starting from zero. I think there's a misconception where you're always, oh, I'm starting from zero again. I'm starting from scratch. No, you are not starting from scratch again. You're not living in your parents' basement. I mean, you might be, bless, but then you have those supports. You might have some schooling under your belt. You might have experience under your belt. You have relationship experience. You have life experience. You're not starting from scratch. You're not, I know many people who are teenagers who have been through a lot. Like it's really, you always come with experience as this new era is starting in your life. And, I think we have this myth in our head that grief is a timeline. Grief does not have a timeline. It is not linear. It's not going to follow a prescribed way. Oh, first you get angry and then you get depressed and then you feel sad and then you're coming out the other side. No. No. You can cycle back and forth. You think you know what's going on and then you don't. And then you're angry and then you're depressed and then you're listless and you're tired. All of those symptoms, they're part of grief. And there is a grief in transition. So growth comes with grief, and it is the sacred pause. That's why I named this topic this way, this podcast, because the sacred pause is about a coming of age. It is a rite of passage. And if you can label it as such and bring more kindness into your life, you're meant to go slow. You're meant to slow down and discover the deeper truths that are emerging at this time. One of the reasons that I absolutely gravitated to grief counseling is because it is a huge time of growth. You are stripping away anything anyone has ever told you about what is truth, what is God, what is the universe, how you're meant to operate, being a good girl. All of that stuff gets burned to the ground. And you are holding every piece of your life and looking at it and going, does this still fit? Does this get to stay with me? One of my dearest girlfriends recently lost a family member, and she's going through a real reimagining of her life. She's literally taking every part of her life, her wardrobe, her jewelry, her card deck, her gifts and talents, her clients, her friends, her family. Every single thing is being held up with scrutiny to the light to see, does this get to stay or does it go? And she has the power to make anything go in her life now. It's really, when you're going through this grief transition phase of your life, you're going to have not a lot of capacity, not a lot of energy. You have, I always say this with my clients is like, imagine that you have a full pie. Everyone gets up in the morning and has a full pie. And this pie is your energy. So you have this full pie for the whole day to use. And not only do you have to use it for yourself, but you got to use it for your job. You got to use it for your family. You got to use it for the people around you. All the things that you're doing, all the balls that you are juggling in your life. Now imagine that you have a chronic illness, you have chronic pain, or you're going through depression. And if you're neurodivergent, you might also want to take a piece of that pie away. So now, if you're going through something chronic or depression, going through a major grief in your life, take half that pie away and throw it in the garbage because now you are operating at half a pie, half a pie. And yet the world looks at you and thinks you've got a whole pie. Doesn't everyone have a whole pie? No. A lot of people are operating at half a pie. And so you're trying to sort your life with half the energy of everyone else. Grief takes so much energy. It is unbelievable how grief and depression, how much energy it exudes from your body because it is depressing you. It is heaviness. And your soul is meant to be light, right? It is meant to be light and free and joyful and inspired and full of love. But when you're in these lower vibrations, it is a heaviness that you carry and you're carrying it. It is a lot of energy to carry that. And, wouldn't it be great if you could just throw it in the garbage, right? But it doesn't work like that. We have to carry it until we know what to do with it. That's the truth. You carry your grief, you carry your transition until you know what to do with it. And what happens with integration and healing and in time, clarity starts to come in, light starts to emerge. You might even get sick of yourself that you're always tired or always sick or you're always depressed and you want to choose something else. And that is when a lot of people find me because that's the moment when the spark is starting to emerge. You're ready for light, but you're still not sure what to do with that, how to deal with it. right? And when we're dealing with grief, something is dying away in our lives. Someone has passed away, a part of us has passed away, a part of our life has passed away, something we hoped would come to fruition, not come to fruition, and a relationship might be ending. Those are all legitimate reasons to be in grief. You know what? If you're feeling grief, it's legitimate. I'm just going to say that, right? It's not for anyone to judge if your grief is big enough. If the reason was big enough, you should be over it by now. Stuff it. Stuff it. No one gets to tell you that grief is not linear. No one gets to legitimize grief. If you're feeling it, I think it's the opposite, actually. When I had a session with a client today and she's going through deep grief. And as she's telling me about what's happening in her life, I was like, you understand that you're going through grief? And she kind of looked at me. Yeah, I guess I am. We never name it that, right? Especially as high achieving women, we never name it grief. We actually think something's wrong with us. And when I say, do you understand that that is grief? And I explain why it's grief, it's like this light bulb goes on and they like stop and they look up to the left. That's they're accessing their brain in NLP, right? And I always kind of I like a inner giggle because I know something is shifting in that moment. Oh, I have a label for this. How did I not see this before? Which is a lovely aha. And then we get to move forward. We get to sort of say, oh, okay, now I know what this is. Now what do I do? We're such doers, right? We're not human beings, we're human doers. And these are when your hidden gifts and talents emerge, is in these grief moments, because the opposite of our purpose is our trauma. The opposite of things that we've gone through gives us meaning. It is what gives you wisdom. It's not to say that every bad thing you've been through, you're now meant to go and guide others. Not necessarily. I mean, you could be with your friends and things like that, but it might give you purpose in terms of like a renewal, a sense of like, I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. One thing I'm really noticing in the world right now is a huge push for perimenopause support. And I can already hear some of you go, yes, I need that. Girl, I get you. Yeah, I'm in it too. I just recently went to the doctor and she's like, well, your test confirmed you're in perimenopause. I'm like, no crap. Yeah, I know. Right. And it's interesting. I'm just dealing with it. I mean, that's how I saw my mom deal with it. She did it a really holistic way, did a lot of herbal supplements and remedies and stuff. And I've been going that route as well. And because she shared with me, I have that wisdom that she shared with me. But I am noticing a lot of people around me in my age range floundering, really struggling. And now there's been a surge of people in the perimenopause space, coaching, testing, a perimenopause coach, nurse. One of my previous clients who came through intuition development is now a nurse doing perimenopause. And it's like, she's such a beautiful light. It's so great to see that now this need is helping people step into this purpose. This I am going through it and I don't want any future generations to go through what I went through. Here's testing. Here's what I learned. You're sharing authentically. So hidden gifts can come out during this time. Clarity comes out. It's a way for us to, no longer hold on to this pattern. It's a rewriting of our identity during this time. It's okay to say that. It's okay. You've been through a lot of things, and it's, I think one of the gifts that grief brings in is I don't give a crap what anyone thinks of me anymore. Bless, right? The 40s bring in that gift, right? It is so joyful. As I stepped in, there's no one more powerful than a woman that doesn't give a shit what people think of her. I'm going to say that. I know it because you are in your own light. You are treading your own way. And what happens is you become a beacon of light for other people who are going through that too, other women that are going through that too. And they see your authenticity and they gravitate towards you and they're like, can you tell me what you did? Can I take you for coffee? Can I just like ask you a little bit about your journey? And then someone says, oh my gosh, you should write a book. And then all of a sudden, someone is writing a book and they're like, hey, we need authors for this book. And then you write your story in there. And then the editor loves your story so much as she says, you should write a book. I think you should have your own book and let me help you. That is a true story, by the way, of something that has happened in one of my clients' circles. True story. That you just follow your heart and everything starts to open up. So, but here's the problem is when you're in deep grief, you can't feel your heart. You can't feel your intuition. You're in the lowest vibration on the emotion scale. And that one of those lowest vibrations is depression, apathy, indifference. There's nothing pulling you. There's no magnetism there. And so it's hard to come up into gratitude. If you think about your chakras as energy, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I often thought I wanted to teach a class on this because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when we look at it, it is the chakra system, right? The base needs of safety is your root chakra. It's red too. It's funny whenever I see it colored in. And that's about your base needs. It's your safety. You need to pay your bills. You need money in the bank. You got to make sure you got a roof over your head and you're going to have food in the fridge. And so when you're talking to someone who's going through grief and you're like, just step into your purpose. What is your guides telling you? And they're like, stuff it, right? Because they don't know. They can't feel that deep into themselves, or they can't reach up that high to be in their intuition, which is in their crown chakra. One of the things I really noticed during COVID, at the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of fear. And if I'm honest, I was also in fear, right? There's so much unknown and when you're going through a transition, unknown brings so much fear to your brain. But it's real. It's real. We didn't know. And the media was telling us, and the doctors were saying, if you had a pre-existing condition, you are likely dead. And I'm like, I have asthma. Oh my God. And I was in massive fear that something was going to happen to me. And like like me and two other family members have asthma. So I was like really fearful that this thing was going to come to my house and we were going to be dead. And then I got it. And it was rough. I actually, because of my inhalers, it didn't affect my lungs so much, but it messed with my head. Like it was like nothing else I've ever had. And whether you believe in COVID or not, I talked to a lot of people in the spiritual community and they're like, COVID's not real. I'm like, you have not had it. I have had the flu. I have been so sick. I've had people around me who've had pneumonia. This is like nothing else I have ever seen, experienced, witnessed. Like it is awful. And in that moment, it was like again, I didn't have a lot of space for capacity for anything. I could barely stay awake for more than 3 hours at a time, couldn't string together sentences. It was interesting because in that moment my basic needs were being met, right? That's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I was really lucky that my husband didn't get sick. He was bringing me food. We had, people supporting me. But I really had to sit in that moment of like, how did I bring this on myself? Which I totally did. I attended a retreat, which I probably shouldn't have. And how do I want to be after this? Like, what do I want from this? Where do I want to go from this? And, it's COVID is COVID. It's a virus. It was 3 months before I felt normal again. But when you're going through a deep grief, like a loss, sometimes all you can do is just breathe, right? All you can do is just breathe. And as things start to get a little bit easier, the waves start to crash over you less and less. You almost get used to it. It's not going to go away, especially when you experience somebody really close to you passing away. That doesn't go anywhere. You just grow around it. And that's what happens with grief when you're going through a transition and growth, is that you're growing around it. Even in those moments that you're pausing and you're thinking nothing's happening, you are learning to sit with it. You're learning to be in it. And there's no rushing. That's why you can't rush this, and as a producer, as a former prover, as someone who is an A-type personality, who is an alpha, I would say, I want to rush it. I want to be like, what's my next step? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do for this? And that isn't a tactic you can't do that with grief and growth. You have to let clarity come. And I keep hearing this over and over and over again from spirit, from people who are mirroring it back to me. It's like this message that the universe is trying to send to me. And it's clarity always comes, just not on your timeline, which is absolute crap. And it's truth, right? It's true that it's crap. It's crap. I don't know. I'm not a wordsmith, obviously. But in this, feeling of, trying to make things go faster, it's just not possible. You can't rush it. So you just have to do what you can in the moment. Sometimes that's laundry, sometimes it's breathing, sometimes it's a shower, sometimes it's all of those things, right? And as things start to present themselves, you'll start to notice what's pulling your heart, right? I think one thing I really love about when I'm moving through these periods of time, I take the pause. I'm very intentional with what gets into my energy, what gets into my life. Right. I don't it, I the gate is strong. The moat is filled with alligators. You will not get in unless you are so aligned with what brings me joy or what feels like a yes. Yeah. And you could be, a yes to brunch with me 3 months ago, but if my kids are sick or my husband's not doing well or whatever's happening in our lives, it's going to be a no. Right. And I think when my family is my top value and my top priority. If something's not going well there, it's so easy for me to say no. It's so easy for me to put up that boundary and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I've got to drive my son to school or take someone to a doctor's appointment or, all those things. But when it's me, ooh, I do have a harder time saying no. And that's again a recovering people pleaser. I am stronger than I used to be, but I also have a hard time sometimes saying no if I know it's going to hurt someone's feelings. And that's, with regards to a dinner or a group gathering or a friendship thing, it's harder. It is harder because as an empath, I can feel how that would feel to someone else. I know what that feels like. I have been told no, or I have been shut out of groups or things like that where I'm just not invited, and it's painful, And I have a hard time doing that to someone else. So I'm still learning that that's okay to disappoint others. It's okay for people to be sad, right? That I'm not going to be seeing them. That's okay. So in the pause, there is tools to help you. I know all of my achievers out there are like, yes, bring me the tools. The tools in the pause in grief is to be intentional with what gets in. You have permission to rest. That's a big tool. I know. And as somebody who worked in corporate and who was an overachiever and chronic overworker, like really, I was a workaholic. And I can still get into those stages, but I have really untangled myself from that identity now. It's fascinating. The permission to rest, it feels easier now. And yet, even this afternoon, I could have taken a nap, but I wanted to record these podcasts. I was inspired. I'm tired. I wasn't listening to my body, if I'm going to be so honest with you. One of the things you'll find on this podcast, if you know me, if you follow me on social media, if you meet me in real life, if you ever attend any of my events, is I'm going to be super honest and clear with you of who I am and who I'm not. And, I'm no guru. Please do not put me on a pedestal. Please don't think I have all my shit together. I don't. Well, I probably should have taken the nap instead of pushing through. The pushing through, ooh, it's still there. Still that corporate A-type personality. I will untangle from that in time as well. And I'm really lucky because I have a husband that's like, go take a nap, Sheetal. Go take care of yourself. I'm like, thank you so much. And I resisted so much, but I think that's for another podcast. So, permission to rest, giving yourself permission to rest. It is hard. So, the more that you can give yourself permission to rest and not feel guilty about that. I mean, I worked from home for many, many years with many of my jobs. So, sleeping on an afternoon, like having a nap in the afternoon, that's a no go. Like, I'm supposed to be producing, I'm supposed to be out and about making calls and doing things during that time. A nap is not appropriate. But when you think about it, my mom was in a government job and they would have nap pods. And so they got to nap. That was part of that was sanctioned by the government because they had many studies actually that show that if you have a little cat nap in the afternoon, it brings you more productivity and intrinsic value in your day. So you're taking care of your body, you're waking up energized, and you're ready to start again. So it's not a bad thing. I'm not sleeping on the job, per se, but I feel like I could be doing other things. I have I have time scarcity. A real thing with time scarcity that like I always have a list of things to do. And I want to get through that list because I have a lot of ambitions and things I want to do. And, that list depends on me unless I delegate it. So, I'm working through some things too. And you might hear yourself in my voice too. Know that as I create more strategies and learn more things, I'm going to continue to share them here. But permission to rest is really important. You're not going to have a whole lot of capacity if you're going through deep grief and growth. You're going to be, you have that pie, right? So you're going to be navigating that. So resting is going to be really, really important. A really great one, but might be difficult depending on the stage you're at in your healing and in your growth and your grief, is meditation. And now I think a lot of people think meditation is closing your eyes and focusing on a voice that's bringing you through a meditation, or closing your eyes and emptying your mind. If that is you, do not, that is not that's advanced meditation. You jump into like level 1,000. As a medium, I would say an advanced medium, I have the ability to do that in a moment's notice, to let spirit in, to just clear my mind. I can even close my eyes, or I can do it with my eyes open and just clear my mind. And that is a skill that I have cultivated. That didn't just come overnight, especially if someone has a very busy mind. So I've cultivated that skill that I can empty my mind in a moment and think of nothing. Blank. Yeah, I know I just did. So meditation can be a walking meditation. It can be, sipping tea and looking outside and just looking at nature. That's a meditation. You can listen to a guided meditation. You can listen to music with your eyes closed. You can stand in the shower and cry. I mean, that's not a meditation, but it is very relaxing and healing to do so. Water is very healing. That's why a lot of people, I call it the phone booth to spirit, is the shower because you are connecting into energy, is free flowing, and the water is very meditating as it hits your skin, hits your face, and it almost kind of drowns you out or moves you into a more kind of alpha or theta state of mind, brain waves. So it is very meditative. So meditation, when you're in, that, whether it be going to a yoga, studio, or going to a meditation class, or maybe just putting on earphones and walking, through the forest, might be as much as you can do. Closing your eyes and trying to focus on a voice might be hard for you. And that's okay. No one's asking you to do any of that. It's really about seeing where you're at and does that support you. So anything of all these tools, there's more, but if there's all these tools, it's really about what works for you. All these tools are not going to work for everybody who's going through deep grief, growth, and their sacred pause. It's okay. I'm unattached. You're not offending me in any way. Just feel out what works for you and create your own sacred toolkit as you're moving through grief. Music is so healing. And like, what kind of music, right? Maybe it's slow music, maybe it's beats. My girlfriend, who's going through grief right now with her family member passing away, she said, I can't listen to anything with an upbeat. It needs to be like a drum beat, it needs to be meditative, maybe even like African music. Like, that's what was drawing her in because that felt good for her nervous system, right? Listening to Run DMC, not so much, right? I love DMC. So, it's really about what feels good for you. Maybe it's symphony music, maybe it's orchestra, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's chanting. Like, what is that for your nerves? You'll notice right away. You'll get a visceral yes or a, ooh, this is nice, right? Notice right away. Music is vibration, it's frequency. So it is the one thing that can really align your energy if you're whatever state you are in. You just notice what kind of music you want to listen to, and it'll tell you about your state of mind. So find the music that feels soothing to your soul. Walking is a really great tool for moving grief. Even running. I was recently on my friend's podcast who's a running coach, and she said all of them, as they run when they're going through grief, they run more because they're trying to just move the energy. It makes them feel good. And running is in a form of meditation. As your feet hit the pavement and you're in this rhythmic beat, your body starts to fall into this rhythm. Your mind can be very active when you're running, but you will get to a point when it's not. It starts to shift. And so, especially running long distances, you can't run long distances if your mind is so chatty. right? It's going to start to slow down. It's going to start to empty and just get into the rhythm of your breath, of your feet. You can even just focus on your feet or focus on your breath or focus on your legs as they're firing each muscle, or you might focus on your arms as they're pumping along. Just walking, running, jogging, very, very good for grief. And then listening to what feels joyful and good to you, right? Sometimes it's hanging with friends, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's going for brunch, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's watching Golden Girls, sometimes it's not. Like, what feels good for you? Nostalgia feels very calming to the nervous system. So I know I grew up on Family Ties, Friends, The Cosby Show. It was so unfortunate about Bill Cosby, but those those things are nostalgia to me, right? And they feel calming. So Golden Girls is one of my go tos for when I'm feeling down. It's funny because I was watching Golden Girls the other day, and my son came up and goes, "Mom, are you okay? You're watching Golden Girls." I was like, "Yes, I'm fine. I just wanted an energy boost, okay?" Like, it always just makes me laugh, and I love their friendship so much. It just feels amazing. I just love being a part of it. You almost feel like you're part of it. I see myself in Dorothy, to be honest. This is why I just love that show. They just love each other so much. And I have so many girlfriends in my life that are like that for me. So it just brings me a lot of good things. Another tool that can help you is signs and symbols and synchronicities from spirit. To notice, if there's a feather. I notice this a lot with my clients who are in deep grief. They notice songs that come on the radio all of a sudden that remind them of their person, or a dime. I have a client who finds dimes everywhere. Literally one day, she opened her bed to go to bed and there was a dime on her pillow. She lives alone. So, like, where did that come from, right? Dimes from heaven. It's a big one. Whether a bird comes across your path, or the other day I was at a friend's house and this blue jay, like, literally screaming at me in the trees. And I was like, ooh, no one else was there. It was just me. And then when other people came in, the blue jay stopped, which I was like, huh, that's interesting. The blue jay hates me, or it could be a sign from spirit. And I looked it up in the spirit book. So profound. It was exactly the message I needed in that moment. So just noticing, in your life, what are some signs and symbols that come up for you? What's coming across your path that's very unusual? Or you're noticing feathers or dragonflies, looking those up and seeing what does that mean, from the spirit. You can chat GPT it and ask, what does the symbol of a dragonfly mean? Or you can Google it, and the spiritual meaning of a butterfly or spiritual meaning of a dragonfly, and see what that means for you. And notice if it hits for you, if it lands. If it doesn't, it's okay. No one, doesn't mean anything. It just might be very supportive. These are the ways I think that spirituality is so supportive during grief. And spirituality is non denominational, it doesn't subscribe to any religion. It says that there's a loving force guiding us and supporting us in this journey here on earth. And this earth journey is hard, y'all. Being human is really, really hard. It's one of the hardest life lessons a spirit can choose, because inherently we're very dense here, and earth is a training ground for spirit. It's never going to be utopian. You're here to learn lessons, you're here to grow, but also here to love and to experience joy, and have the wonderful experiences that this life has to offer. It isn't just healing and conflict and strife. Not at all. Those are there, yes, in the background, but it again is, you've got two piles in your life. You've got a pile of gold and you got a pile of poop. And if you continue to focus on the pile of poop, you're going to get more poop. But if we focus on the pile of gold, and we start to heal the pile of poop, we start to realize where, all this gold in our life is coming from, that you are so supported and guided. You will come through it on the other side. You will. It's inevitable. Your soul didn't come here to struggle and to suffer. In a lot of cultures, including the one that I'm from, which is East Indian, there's a lot of suffering is a rite of passage. And I was like, nope, I reject that. I do not accept that as any part of my life. We did not come here to suffer. Suffering is a choice. We get to grow through. It is hard. Can certain things feel like suffering? Absolutely. But if we understand that it is a transmission, like we are moving through something, it is a corridor to growth, then that is different. So grief means your soul is expanding through a transition, and it's what's on the other side that is unknown to our mind. We don't know what's there. And that's why our mind is in struggle. It is in suffering. And the more that you can be comfortable in the uncomfortable, comfortable with the unknown, comfortable with uncertainty, know that you are on an adventure and that everything is going to work out. It always does. It's always going to come together. It's natural to look at everything in your life, including your gifts, and see, like, does this belong? Is this going to come with me to the next era of my life? It's okay. It's normal. And the people around you might be very uncomfortable by that because we want status quo. We want everyone to be in stasis. We want everyone to be comfortable. And when they're not comfortable, when someone is dysregulated, the whole pack becomes dysregulated. So people who are not comfortable with emotions or are comfortable with uncomfortableness will try to move you faster than you're ready to go. Notice that. Just notice that. And you might even say, you're uncomfortable with me being in grief, aren't you? They might be like, yeah, it sucks. And you're like, it really does. And my clarity will come. Just not in this moment. It's okay. You don't have to change me. You don't have to fix me. It's all going to work out. And do call in support. That's another tool that I want to add on to a way that you move through grief and the pause and the growth is that you can call in support. You can work with a grief counselor. It doesn't have to be me. There's lots of grief counselors and psychologists trained in grief. I'm a spiritual grief counselor that also brings astrology and human design and spirit, your ancestors, your loved ones, they come in. I have very specialized gifts that most psychologists don't. I'm just going to say, so it is a specialized service. It's not for everybody. And, when you're ready on the other side of it, there is so much then as you emerge on the other side, intuition development, manifestation. There's a wonderful, my membership is actually now open at the time that this is being open to the public. And it's called MIA Academy, Manifestation, Intuition, and Astrology Academy. And it is where women come together who are moving through their own transitions and learning about their gifts and talents and learning how to listen and strengthen their intuition, to use that inner compass to manifest a life of their dreams while flowing with the energy of the cosmos in this moment in time. And as I purposely made it a membership, I dreamed about this for a long time because I wanted it to be a walk with you through the seasons of your life. Because you can take a class and, it's all fine. But then when something happens, somebody dies, something that you lose your job, now are you still using those skills? Or did you put that book on the shelf and forget to open it and use any of it during this period of time? Because that is when you grow. That is when you are applying your skills and what you've learned in real time, that you find that you get different results, that you have a different experience of life. And now you're ready to up level to the next level of your life. So I created MIA as a month to month. You know how many coaches have said to me, you should make it a 1 year and people sign up for the 1 year? And I said, no, it has to be a month to month because when you're ready, when you feel fulfilled, when you've received the lessons and you're on to the next thing, you get to cancel your membership. I send you so much love. I'm excited for you as you launch out into the world and go do the thing, go be. But don't forget your tools that you learned. Continue to apply them in real time. And if you forget, we're here. You can come back and land in the nest again and be loved on and be supported. And there's no judgment. Every woman in there is going through their own journey of self-discovery and growth, and we're doing it together. So if you're looking for a community, if you're wanting to up level with people around you, come join our group and see how it works for you. And if it doesn't, no problem. Send you off with love to your next evolution layer of your journey. There is no wrong path. There is no wrong choice. Everything is a learning. All right. So if you are in the pause, if you are in grief growth, I see you. I'm sending you so much love. You are moving through it in time. You are doing a great job, even when you don't think that you are. It's very normal to think you're not doing a good job. you are doing a good job. You're doing well. You're keeping it together. You're looking for things like this podcast to support you. Now, why not get something in real time to support you too? So don't forget to apply those tools and things that you've learned along the way. If you want to learn some more tools, sign up for things that look and feel good to you, that you have capacity for, and start to integrate when you are ready. Sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.sheetalstory.com and follow us on Instagram at sheetalstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is Sheetal Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of Sheetal Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.